As a disclaimer, Monster Fuckers Anonymous is indeed about wanting to love and have sex with monsters, but we want to make things extremely clear from the get-go. The monsters we will be selecting will be sentient and able to consent. Not all of the chosen monsters will be sapient, but we will not be endorsing zoophilia or bestiality. Anthropologically, monsters all around the world, and media representations of them, have had many racial and sociological implications. We will be as transparent and ethical as possible, while also sex positive and mostly having fun.
Monsters. Creatures feared all around the world in folklore and myths. Terrifying beings such as the fiendish and frightening fae, demonic devils, sultry sirens, hazardous harpies, and countless chaotic creatures coming from crevices of every continent. As long as stories have existed, there's been one pressing question that has remained unanswered by scholars for generations. One powerful thought that has plagued our minds for millennia. Can we fuck these monsters? That is what we're here to find out today. Welcome to Monster Fuckers Anonymous.
Hello, one and all, to the 6th episode of MFA, aka Monster Fuckers Anonymous, a show where we talk about monsters, we can talk about all their lore, their media representations, everything about them, and then rate them, and how likely we could fuck them. Now, I am your colorful commentator, Cleric, here to dish out scenarios and talk about the monsters I want to talk about, but a one-person podcast would be boring, as always, I am joined by the wind beneath my wings, my co-host, my partner in crime, my absolute favorite person, Tower Technical Analyst, Joe.
All of that is a lie. All of that, every time you say that, it just gets worse.
No, see, what happens is I'm saying those things in order to make the audience think that, like, oh, wow, Cleric is so nice. Cleric is so great. Look how much he compliments Joe. And then every time you rip into me and ruin my fucking life, they're like, wow, why would Joe do that? Even
So
though
you're
Cleric
a
was so
manipulator.
Yeah, 100%. Gaslight Geeky Girl Boss, like my favorite demon, Gratz.
Oh my god. Alright, cool. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. This is
My
episode...
co-host is a... Never mind.
Is that what? Say it with your chest. Say it with your chest.
A cuck.
Oh. With that, welcome to episode 6. We are still on our little elemental themed month, or not month, but basically our episode theme recording session kind of thing. So the next, like we said, 4 episodes are all going to be based on a different element: fire, water, things of that sort. Actually, speaking of fire, what's today's episode about, Joe?
Literally fire. You said it. You literally said that it was fire.
Yeah, but I wanted you to say it.
Alright. We're doing a bulk recording, folks, so
Yeah.
the energy is already off.
The energy is going to be off. We just finished recording episode 5. We're literally jumped right into episode 6. You know, maybe we'll do episode 7. Who knows? We won't.
No, we're absolutely not. I don't want to be hanging out with you for this long.
Rude! Ooh. So, Joe, how do you feel about fire monsters in general? What do you think about that?
I'm a fire sign, so I really have spent a lot of time in my life, my younger life, identifying with mythological fire creatures. So this is like a very, very gonna be a fun one for me.
Are Sagittarius is a fire sign? I thought it was an earth sign.
No, fire sign.
Oh no, it's Scorpio. No, Scorpio's water.
Scorpio's water.
It's Virgo, Taurus, and Capricorn are the other signs?
Yes, they are.
Astrology isn't real. So, yeah, I'm not a super big fire guy myself. I think fire is cool. I think fire is like... I'm really a fan of lava. I think lava is sick as fuck. So, that's always what I'm drawn towards. Every time I think about, like, fire abilities, I'm always more drawn to, like, summoning, like, lava and shit like that. Like, I love Akainu from One Piece, for any One Piece fans out there.
Nice, yeah.
Absolutely one of my favorite characters. And one of my favorite abilities to have. So I'm very interested to see what monsters we bring to the board. So, for those of you who are just diving in, maybe for this is your first episode, or just as a refresher course we give every time, what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about one monster, Joe's going to talk about one monster, and we're going to rate it on the Popo scale of whether it's through possibility, attractiveness, audacity, parental approval, and then our overall average of our scores, and get something all added up together, and that's how we'll rank them. We're going to do 3 monsters, mine, Joe's, and then our last one will be a monster that has been selected by our producers, which me and Joe have not seen. We have no idea what this next monster is going to be. The third monster could be a literal being of fire or the hottest thing on the planet. We don't know. So we'll be opening that live as a recording and giving our reactions and our score recording of.
Yeah. Or if you listen to episode 5, the fucking saddest.
The saddest monster. Jesus Christ. I stand by it. It's our saddest and our highest ranking. I guess if you really want us to love it, it has to be sad.
No, not necessarily.
Please, hopefully this episode has a more happier monster to end off on. But with that, I think it's Joe. Are you ready to dive in? I think it's time.
So we will be starting with my fire monster. We will be talking about the Old Norse mythological figure Logi. Logi is the Norse mythological personification of fire, as well as a Jotun, an entity contrasted by the Old Norse pantheons. In an eating contest with Loki, he won with rapidity, as he consumed not only meat, but also bone. It is said he can be identified within an ancestral line of giants who were known for their muscular physique and stunning beauty. The gods recognize him conceptually and literally as wildfire.
I'm a big fan of Norse mythology, actually. With Greek, as I said before, I think in the previous episode, I am really big on mythology in general, but I do like Norse. So Logi, but I didn't know about Logi. I know about Logi's like other more famous, I guess, relatives, like Surtur and all the other fire giants.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting to see like just a giant fire spirit kind of thing.
Yeah, I am really not familiar with Norse mythology. When I guess my whole thing was like Egyptian and Greek mythology growing up. But it was really interesting going through some of the Norse names because obviously a lot of D&D terms are like inspired by Old Norse creatures. Like the Durgar is like kind of a word, like a bastardized word of Nordic creatures.
I would say there's a lot of influence in D&D with, like you were saying, with the Norse. Like that's a perfect example is Laogai is a fire giant, and there are fire giants.
They're literally fire giants.
Yeah. Which fire giants in D&D also not that great. They're like war hungry and constantly just want to fight. If I remember D&D fire giant lore, they're just very war hungry and are constantly just like building weapons to fight.
Yeah. They take D&D like takes concepts very literally, it feels like.
There's no nuance. There's no nuance in D&D, which, they're trying to improve on, but they usually... Because in D&D... Excuse the quick rant that's about to happen, I think, with the two of us. But in D&D, like, they just... Like you said, there's no nuance. They take just the base form. Like, with Laogai, there's this interesting creature here. Like, he's in competitions with Loki. He's the embodiment of fire and flames. Like, he's just this big giant that is also fighting through this. And that's why you then boil that down to its bare essence of he hungry, he like fight. And that's what you throw out there. And so that's up to the player to make the nuance. Then most players make shitty nuance because they're, for reasons I won't get into. But they just make shitty nuance, which makes the characters even shittier. And then D&D then takes that shitty lore and it's like, this is it. This is our official thing. It's... I hate it. Bad game. Play something else.
Yes.
Play Masks.
Yeah, I'm just like reading about Logi, not knowing that much about Norse mythology in general. He honestly, for a fire spirit, seems like a pretty chill dude. Apparently, he is the son of a frost giant and born of a fire giant mother. So he kind of comes from this court of like a magical quadruplicity of earth, water, fire, and air. Like literally he is the personification of fire and flame and such. And I think one of his like more, I don't know if it's the most notable story that he has within Loki's realm, which it's going to be fucked up to go between Loki and Loki this whole time. But within Loki's realm, it is just so funny that they had an eating contest and he won because he can just literally eat bone and meat, which just makes sense. It
makes sense. But I think he's an interesting character. But thinking about him relationship-wise, I'm already seeing a couple of issues.
Okay, yeah.
One is he's physically made of fire. So touching him is going to be an immediate just no-go. And you can make the argument, yes, he can lower his internal body temperature, but still, when someone's hot, in the winter, great. Cuddle up with them, you're warm, and like at least they're warmer to the touch. In the summer, oh, fuck, do not touch me. I don't care how high your body temperature is. Just get a separate bed. You're sleeping on the couch. Like, that's... if you do it in a normal human sense and he turns down the heat, it's just hot to the touch. It's going to be annoying. It goes from annoyance to, since he's the living embodiment of fire, to being, you can't physically touch him. Unless you're wearing, like, a tinfoil suit. You know?
Tinfoil suit?
Like an aluminum foil suit? Like, isn't it?
I don't know.
You know those suits that people wear, like, to stand in fire? That's, like, looks like tinfoil.
Right.
I'm not crazy.
I don't know.
Wait,
sure.
No, don't wear aluminum foil in fire. That actually will make you hotter. No, will it? I don't know how aluminum foil works.
Anyway, that is very fair. It is super fair because unless you are also some kind of like fire giant, it doesn't seem. It does seem, it does seem strange and like kind of not possible. But I am enjoying him coming from a line of fire giants, or just giants actually in general, that are just known to be fucking sexy. Like that's apparently their whole thing.
Okay, so this is a look don't touch situation though. This becomes a look don't touch, which having eye candy is always great, but sometimes you want to eat your candy, you know?
Wow, yeah.
Having a gummy bear sitting out on your desk is cool, but sometimes you want to like chomp it down. You know what I'm saying?
He does have a wife. I want to know what his wife is, because
maybe he's a cuck. Maybe you can fuck his wife.
What do you mean? Okay,
maybe
no. She was a fire giantess, which
hot.
Which just makes sense. Which does make sense.
If they open up their marriage, oh boy, be their throuple. You'll be burned up. It'll be like the toastiest sandwich. They'll be the two bread passing you together, and you'll be that piece of bacon just sizzling in between.
Oh my god.
That's you, Joe. Your little sizzle bacon.
I mean, I also wonder, I know that you're going to have problems with this sentiment that I have, but I also wonder if we want to interpret it, or if we could interpret the flame part as more of like a personality thing. So we take the personification of fire and just sort of, if we translate it into having a fiery personality, I feel like
let's play this game. Let's play this game, because we can look at it both positive and a negative. Positive, he's got passion. It's going to be a passionate fucking relationship. Like, you guys are going to make sweet fucking love. Like, he's going to fuck you like ain't nothing there before.
My God.
Listen, we're 6 episodes in at this point, if you're listening to what you're listening to. But, so it would be sweet. It'll be a very passionate love, and you show very passion to you and everybody about it. But then there's also the dangerous aspect of fire, because he embodies all aspects. Because fire can be healing, it can be warm, it can be nurturing, but it can also be destructive.
Mm-hmm,
so he can straight up, like, how I imagine it going is you've been together for 6 months, and then 6 months in, he starts maxing out your credit cards.
Oh my god, that is not. You always go crazy.
Okay, you're right. It's not. You're right. That's too crazy.
I was thinking that you were gonna say like maybe he has a temper, or maybe he has.
That's the more appropriate answer. I think I always
Maybe
go
like
with the credit card.
you are insane. Like it's definitely. I feel like more maybe of like an impulsivity. Like I feel like there's not really that much about his personality. He has a great metabolism, apparently.
So yeah, you'd be going out to eat a lot. He'd probably be feeding you. He'd probably be cooking for you. I think he'd be cooking a lot.
Yeah. This is the partner of that. This is basically like the grill dad of like a partner.
But then the problem is going to be is that, like I said, 6 months in, if we go with impulsivity, you're going to be like, hey, are we ready to put a down payment for an apartment together? Because maybe you're thinking of moving in together. And he's like, oh, no, sorry, I bought a dog. And you're like, what? He's like, yeah, I bought a dog, but also, like, I don't want to take care of it anymore. Do you want a dog?
That is so stupid.
It's like,
so stupid.
But it's also impulsive. And then you get angry when you say no. You're like, no, I'm not taking care of this dog. I have to fucking pay bills, and like I'm not responsible enough to take care of this. He's like, when he starts yelling at you, and then like, I hate to do it to you. He punches a hole through the wall.
I'm mad because there's just not enough about his personality to like
defend this.
Yeah, even make any kind of.
I have free slander. This is free slander material for me, which is always fun. For me to get free slander material.
He's representative of the primal power of fire, light, smoke, and the sun. So
good with the bad.
Yes, right. It is. I guess it would be fair to say that there's that level of impulsivity. The primal power of fire, light, smoke, and the sun.
But I think we've set this monster, we set Loud Guy up enough. Do you want to jump into possibility, to the Papo scale?
Sure.
So first up, possibility, how likely it is, how possible it is with the physicality, with their location to deal with this monster. With possibility, the Norse, there's a bunch of demigods out there. The Norse, it's definitely possible to like mate with a Norse god or a Norse being, all within the realm of possibility. The problem is, if we're going with the, like I said before, where their body's literally on fucking fire, there's no way you're fucking him if he's on fire. Yeah. And then B, if he's just a hot temperature-wise, it's just like annoying kind of thing. So I would definitely rank this kind of somewhere in the middle of I'm going to give it a 6. I think a 6 is fair.
That does sound pretty fair. Because I feel like, obviously, sex can be many different things, like long-distance relationship people can have sex. There's all sorts of ways. And if you don't mind, I don't know, sensory play in the way of heat and sweating, maybe even primal can be involved in that. There are definitely ways. We have our artist Ribby listening in today, and he just mentioned imagine the wax play. Come on, that's
true. That's the point. Originally I was gonna rank this a bit lower. I was gonna give it a 4. To be very honest.
Right.
But I do think long distance is possible if you are going with like he just has very high body temperature. The one thing I'm afraid of is he's like while you guys are having sex, he catches on fire and just like burns you up crisp.
Which is I feel like there's nothing about him being able to like be approachable by mortals, but he is like within the realm. He's contrasted as in like he's sort of juxtaposed outside of the gods, so like who knows what types of favors he's gonna have to ask to like fuck you or whatever.
He's also a giant, which is also something again to think about, which is like we talked about.
That's not a problem with me.
I know it's not a problem with you. It's not a problem with me either, but it's still just like something to consider. Is he's not like I knocked a point off for the Silica, and I've also knocked a point off for other monsters being too big. I've knocked off points for other monsters being too big. And if Jotunheim is 20 feet tall, or like he's a giant, so giants are roughly like 10 to 15 feet tall, which is reasonable to get into like maybe like a very high ceiling department.
And Baphomet being 20 feet tall.
You cannot, oh my god.
Well, just in terms of like size, like
in comparison.
We've spoken about these types of.
Yeah. So I think 6 is reasonable if he turns off the fire and
reasonable.
sinks down, but also there's all the detriments of if he doesn't turn off the fire, if he's too tall, if he stays in his base form, he can't be higher than a 6. Impossibility, at least for me.
Totally. That's fair.
And what do you think, Joe?
I also will go for 6.
Okay. Wonderful. All right. So then, next one is attractiveness. How hot this monster is, based on both their personality and their physical traits. I'm giving this a 4.
Wow. Okay.
Well, because as we said, he's the embodiment of fire. One, if we're just going based on the information we have, that we're not making shit up. One, he's again 50 feet tall. Height is always a good thing, but he's also let's use the base of 10 to 15. Well, I'll stay at 10, the lesser side.
Yeah.
So he's 10 feet tall, but still hot. But then he's also always on fire, and which is a problem, which is still kind of hot. But then B, if we're just going on the base of the information that we have, based on mythology and not the shit that we've made up, is that he doesn't have much of a personality. He's just there. He eats, and that's it. It's not very attractive. Just
Me too. Me too. I just eat. That's it.
But there's got to be a little bit more substance there. And even the substance that we gave him, for me to slander him with, being the embodiment of fire, passion is great, but passion can, unless it's properly maintained, burn out. And if passion, so that can be a big problem.
You can burn out of a relationship. That is a huge thing. Yeah.
And that can be a big issue. And I'm not super...
Or fire burns out. Maybe, you won't be able to keep up with him or something.
Yeah, or his fire can consume you. And so who you are kind of disappears in his flames. We're getting real poetic here. Oh my God. Where's the snap? Poetic. Editors, put bongos in the back while we were talking there. No? Okay. But yeah, so that's a very much... Even in the personality that we did give him, not that great. So I think if we're just going on physical attractiveness, it's a 4, but everything else kind of weighs it down.
I'm saying 9. I don't know if Logie gets my 10 quite yet for the episode.
9.
He's from a line of giants that are known for their muscular and stunning beauty.
Fuck his brother.
This is the fire episode.
His other brothers. Fuck anybody else in the Jotunheim. You don't have to fuck him.
Well, I want to.
Oh my God. It's a 9.
Oh my God. This is the whole point. This is the whole point. I just...
Listeners,
Audacity.
Audacity.
What are you going to tell them? What are you going to fucking
give me a second. Joe, do you mind? I'm trying to have a private conversation with our listeners.
Okay.
Yeah, cover your ears real quick.
I'll just cover my ears.
Yeah, cover your ears. Listeners, do you see what I have to deal with? Do you see this? I'm trying to have an education and science-based argument about how I want to fuck monsters, and Joe just brings in their feelings? What the fuck?
Okay, Ben Shapiro.
Oh, no! Strike that from the record. Strike it from the record. Forget about everything I said. I take it back. I take it back. Audacity. This is a literal god.
Boy.
I don't want to hear that, fire bitch. Audacity.
I don't want to hear that from a fire sign.
Honestly, yeah, I don't.
If anyone needs to know, by the way, Cleric is a Virgo and I'm a Sagittarius, which is why we're doing this, and also why our co-star says that our basic identities are completely incompatible.
Yeah. But, here we are, making content.
Here we are.
Look at us.
Look at us.
Look at us. All right, we're
It's pretty audacious.
It's pretty audacious. This is like a literal embodiment of fire. And again, using their base form or even using the personality we gave them, you have to really ignite their passions, I'm going to give it a 3. I think it's very audacious.
I was also going to give them a 3.
Oh my God. Maybe we are compatible.
God. No, we're not. Anyway.
Parental approval, 1.
I mean, yeah. It's pretty rough
It's
out
a
here.
10-foot tall fucking fire giant who, if you don't like his parents, will probably punch your dad.
I want to give... Yeah, what's up?
Which isn't never a problem, punch your dad.
Yes, right. I want to give him a 2 at least, I think, just because... my parents do like someone that can eat, someone to feed, which is just like a thing. So I feel like they would be fascinated for the first day that I was like, oh, I'm gonna bring my partner over tomorrow. He eats a lot, so let's just be prepared for that. And then a 10-foot tall personification of fire from Old Norse pre-invading Indo-Europeans. It's tough. It's tough.
It's tough out here.
It's just one of those hang-ups. But it is a two.
Oh my god, hang-ups. It's not a... it's not a hang-up. We're moving on. We're moving on. All right, now that we have our individual scores, we're going to pause for math and get our overall average scores of the literal embodiment of fire. All right, so we got our overall scores here. I got a 3.5. Joe, what'd you get?
I got a 5.
You just got a straight 5, my lord.
Okay.
All right, yeah, see what happens. Shout out to our British listeners. It's for a total average of 4.3. So the Lao guy, the Norse embodiment of fire, is a 4.3. You know, not the worst monster we've had. Not the worst. And you know, honestly, we could have a lower score soon.
What?
We could have a lower score soon. What do you mean, what?
Yeah. I thought you said maybe we could lower his score.
No, we don't do that anymore. We did it once. Maybe not again. Who knows? It turns out the audience likes it.
This is our podcast. So,
all right.
As long as if we have a dissenting opinion within each other, we just fight to the death and see who wins.
Honestly, yeah. Meet me in a Denny's parking lot. Bow bow. So with that, we're gonna move on to my choice of monster, which I think everyone is gonna love. I think I'm picking a fan favorite monster right now, to be honest. Yeah, I really am. Because I've chosen one of the best embodiments of fire, and that is the everlasting phoenix. Phoenixes are powerful elementals that embody the wild and unpredictable nature of fire. Phoenixes are enormous birds with brightly colored feathers ranging from orange to red and violet, and blue-violet beaks and claws. Their bodies are almost immaterial, composed of flame taking solid shape. Phoenixes can be described by many as champions of good, and by others as random agents of destruction. No matter the mythology, these reclusive birds are a symbol of rebirth and new life. So yeah, just a big firebird. And I think phoenixes are very famous. They're all over different medium. Like, you can name any kind of famous book, TV show that has like mythology in it, and a phoenix will appear. And a good question was asked by Ribby, like our artist who was listening in, and I think everyone in general, that people might be saying, does a phoenix pass the Harkness test? And the Harkness test is a test that shows whether or not a monster is consensual and can be objectified and fucked in the way that we talk about in the show. And certain ones can. Most phoenixes have innate spellcasting and talk and communicate with their followers, and some have been perceived as even gods. There are other ones, like in Harry Potter, which I've never seen or read Harry Potter, so cry your heart out, I'm a Slytherin, that show that the phoenix is just more animalistic. But in other entities, phoenixes are very much embodiments of gods and show off their godliness and their own personalities. So, yes, does pass the Harkness test, so we can talk about fucking this bird.
Set me up, because I struggle with birds.
Yeah, so we'll talk about it. So, for the phoenix, big, like I said, big in mythology. It's a big bird. As you know, phoenixes are based on rebirth. So when a phoenix dies, they don't technically die. They turn to ash, and then those ashes form a new egg. The egg hatches, so it's technically an everlasting creature.
Yeah,
they truly never do die. So they're like an everlasting creature, and there's sometimes, like it said, they've blessed people. There's some I know in other mythologies, the phoenix represents a lot of good things. Like in Chinese mythology, I think it's called a Fen Huang. Please, if I pronounce that wrong, you do correct me. It's fine. I sorry if I butchered it, but it's in Chinese mythology. It represents foretelling of harmony at the ascent of a new emperor. So phoenixes are these big massive, just like good fortune creatures. So if we're giving it like a personality, which we can, is we did it with the Lao guy, it's like these good creatures that like bless people and like make you feel good.
So we can't say that for Logai.
No, we can't. Because Lao guy didn't have a personality. All we had to do was he's the embodiment of fire.
Does that mean that phoenixes have personalities, though?
Well, yeah.
They have a lot of responsibility.
They have a lot of responsibility. They have things they have to do. They take care of stuff. They're very reclusive birds. So they've been called reclusive creatures. They have been known to be destructive. So they have like destroyed swaths of like land and things of that sort. They've been hunted before because of their components for their... People have used their bodies as components for spells. I think it's sort of more in like more D&D-ish lore. But a phoenix is always good. And we can always talk about the most famous phoenix in modern history.
Who?
That is the phoenix from Dimension 20 that
oh my God.
Principal Eggfort fucked to make fan favorite character Ida Eggfort. So we have a case of a human fucking the phoenix to create a person.
Arthur Eggfort is barely a person. He's like a god, kind of.
Well, then all wizards are gods because when they turn level 20.
I mean, I would really believe that.
God, what a shitty fucking game. Sorry for everyone. I'm sorry. I do love D&D. I don't want people to think I don't love D&D. I do love D&D. It's just also problematic, and I hate it.
It's kind of wacky.
It's a wacky game. But yeah, so we have an example of a human fucking a phoenix and creating a person.
Yeah, I mean, I am very down symbolically with the phoenix. I feel like if we're going sort of with this route of like Ida Eggfort and her mother and whoever, Ida Eggfort, whenever she dies, she comes back as like an amnesiac.
Yeah.
And has to write down and recount all of her other lives from her other sort of phoenix rebirths, which is a lot.
Yes, which is not great, but I would make the counter argument in the shittier way that that's because she's half phoenix. In a true phoenix is just the same person reborn. Every time she dies, she becomes a new version of herself.
Uh-huh.
Like, I think her first version took care of somebody was the original keeper of the library and took care of Garthie O'Brien.
Yeah.
And so it was like I
don't think her personality changes, though. She's just like older, and that's why she took care of Gardy. And then when she died and is now a teenager, Gardy took care of her.
It's an interesting conundrum. I think it's the idea of what counts as rebirth, because phoenixes do die. While they do have long lives, they also do die. And when they do die, they are reborn. So would technically that rebirth make it? So if you were dating them, like say in a scenario where you're dating them, let's move on to that kind of vibe. Say they passed away and then they were rebirthed, would it be like they're born with new energy? Or are they like, this is a completely new person that you have to, like 50 first dates? Or are they
dates? A baby?
Oh no.
Because when phoenixes are born, I mean, are they just like full-fledged phoenixes?
No, they start back as eggs.
Yeah, so there is this waiting period that you have to go through, and then also the adjustment period of them. I mean, regaining their memories or recounting their experiences.
And that's, again, if they do that. So say you're dating a phoenix, and they've turned it in the human form or in their beast form. You're dating because they can talk. Like, they have there's like the Kirin, have like telepathy and can talk, and have innate spellcasting. Yeah. So they can polymorph, so they can also have that kind of conversation and talk. So say you're talking to a phoenix, and then they fucking die, and this is good nature. When they're good nature, would they remember you? Or would you have to, like, do a Garthie O'Brien and, like, accept that your version of the phoenix is dead, and this is a new version? Yeah.
That's pretty fucked up.
Oh my god, this is like... Oh my god. This does not make me feel... Oh my god.
So, how are we doing? How are we feeling? What's going on?
I'm having a fucking crisis right now, dog. Really. I thought this was going to be a slam dunk, and right now I'm not feeling good about this.
It's pretty interesting, bud.
Don't bud me right now. Don't bud me right now. All right, do we want to move on? I don't even know what to say.
Are there any other like loopholes that you want to get through?
I mean, the only loophole I can say is that that's only in like one medium. Like in other mediums, they come back completely born again, and they remember who they are.
Which if we do go with that, that's sick. Sure.
But then again, in a relationship sense, that's also very difficult because then, like, if your partner dies, you mourn them, and then they come back like 6 months later, like, "Yo, what's up?" It's like, "What the Jesus? What in the Jesus fuck is this?"
Yeah, and like that will be something hard to like adjust to, but ultimately you would, if the Phoenix gives you the skills to, which I'm sure a Phoenix would.
And then say like people are hunting them all the time for their like material.
Oh my God, right.
That's gonna be, you're gonna be constantly on the run. Even if they're good natures, like even if they're going to like be in a relationship with you, they make them feel super guilty about it. They'd be like, "Listen, no, I didn't mean to do this to you," kind of shit. Huh. my slam dunk alley oop turned into a fucking belly flop. And that's three different
into something really sad.
Not the Selkie again. No. No more sad
the
monsters.
The vibe is similar, honestly.
No more sad monsters. Let's just go on to the stale. Let's just move on to this to the scale.
Okay.
You want to start with possibility?
Oh man. We'll go with the possibility that like this Phoenix can communicate and polymorph and do whatever they need to do or do whatever they want to do in order to like be with you. I feel like it has to be less than an 8. I'm trying to see where I see about 6 or 7 though.
The only thing I would say for being less is that it's a very reclusive bird, so you have to really struggle to get to it. It does exist in the human plane. If we're going by D&D lore or just like general stuff, it does exist in the plane that we exist in, but it's just they're reclusive and they're very, very rare. So running into it is difficult.
We gave this skill a 6, so I feel like the vibe is similar enough that I feel like 6 would be sort of where.
Yeah, I'll go with the 6 because again, Arthur Eggford fucked it, so I think it's well within the possibilities of it happening. But he's also a level 20 wizard.
Yeah, he's a different.
But a lot of people have encountered in every other medium. It's very other people have encountered, like Dumbledore encountered a fucking Phoenix,
who's also probably a level 20 wizard.
God, I fucking hate wizards. All right,
me too.
We'll do a 6. I think I agree with a 6. I think a 6 is a fine. Yeah. That's a fine one.
Attractiveness. This is a bird.
We've come full circle. We've come full circle from me just saying it's a horse.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna rank it? If it's you, though, it's just a bird.
I don't know. It's more than a 5, I guess, because personality is definitely big in terms of attractiveness. But I worry if the Phoenix would be like kind of more of the sad romantic type because they know what their situation is, and I just kind of get bored of that pretty quickly. Like if you're just sad all the time, and understandably you can be sad all the time if that's your predicament, like you don't get the time to like savor life, but I am not experiencing what they're experiencing.
I think that also depends on like their life cycle, because sometimes Phoenixes can live for hundreds of thousands of years and then be rebirthed. Or if it's like every month this happens, oh my god, fucking annoying. Or like every year.
Yeah, you would not be able to do that.
Yeah, no, that's just fucking annoying to do. But sometimes it's like hundreds of thousands of years, and unless they're like killed, it happens.
What would you go for?
In their base bird form, like a 3, but if they polymorph out of it, even with their personality being reclusive, they're very good-hearted. So I think I'd just go with a 5. It'll be 3 in their base form, 2 because of their personality. Added 2 points.
I'm going to say 6.
Okay.
I'm going to say 6.
That's fair. So now we're going to Audacity. I think the Audacity is pretty high. It's pretty high. or pretty low, I think, actually. Sorry, I mean, it's very difficult to do this because like I said, they're reclusive. They're very much like they're very rare in the world. But people have fucked it before. I think a 6. I think I just have to go with a 6. Arthur Eggfort. Shout out to him. Shout out to Dimension 20 for providing me my whole case.
Literally. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't. It definitely depends on the. Sorry, that wasn't a sound of disgust. It was me accidentally kicking myself. It is mostly a case of like who you are that you would get, or like where you would be that you would get like access to a phoenix. But like if you're in a wizard's office, you're not just gonna fucking steal a phoenix. Maybe you are, but that's like a whole romance novel at that point. Yeah. I'm gonna say 5. Everything really just depends.
Yeah. I think a 5 is just middle of the road, kind of. Parental approval. I think I'm gonna echo what you say. It's a bird. It's just a fucking bird. It's not happening. Even polymorphed. Let's even take polymorph off the table. You know what? I think polymorphing. We'll take that off the table unless it's explicitly said. It's just a giant fucking flame bird. Your bird, it gets close to my family. My family's fucking dead. It's a 1.
This is really interesting to me because I am taking into consideration the polymorph because they can, and they're very powerful. Again, this depends. I feel like this is a 5 for me.
A 5, okay. A 5 is, again, that's fine. I think a 5 middle of the road. If you consider polymorph, it does go higher, and they're good-natured in general.
Yeah, because like if it's something that they can do, they would be able to do it.
So okay, if you take into account polymorphing, you take into account to like the human form and their personality being more good-natured, I would say 5 is a better answer. But then also, like parental approval, if they keep dying and they're rebirthed into a new person every time, or a new personality every time, so even with the same physical body but just a new personality. That's gonna be such a bitch to introduce to your parents every time because they'll be like, Bradley, how are you doing? How is your finance degree? It's like, oh, I don't do finance anymore, brah. I deal in NFTs. It's like, what about? Do you want to come sailing with me? I fucking hate sailing. It's like, but that's what we bonded over. You know, it's that difficulty. It's gonna be that switch up they're not gonna be used to.
That is a wild situation that you just. This is just okay. Cool.
I'm not wrong though.
Are you changing parental acceptance at all? Or is it
no, I think I'm gonna stick with the base. I'll give it a 3. I'll give it a 3.
Okay.
So we'll pull it up 2 points, but I think it's a 3. So with that, we're gonna go into our overall scores for our fire monster here. So pause for math.
So, our overall scores for the Phoenix, Cleric got a 5 out of 10, and for me, the Phoenix got a 5.5, which averages out to about a 5.25 or 5.3 between the both of us for the Phoenix.
You better keep that in. You better keep it. So, Phoenix, not too bad. It's not the worst. It's a little bit higher than Laoya, but I think it's also because we had a little bit more to work with, technically. Not much. Not much. Maybe our mystery monster from our producers will have a little bit more to work with over here. We'll be more for a treat. So with that, we're going to wrap up the Everlasting Phoenix, the cycle of rebirth, and go on to our mystery monster that our producers have chosen. Joe, are you ready to open this bad boy up? Again, we have never seen this monster. We don't know what we're about to see. So in 3, 2, 1. What? No!
Oh.
No! I can't believe she's done this.
So, we are now looking at a picture of Maramon from Digimon.
I have to read this description, please.
Yes, absolutely. Go for it.
Maramon is a flame Digimon. It has shrouded in crimson flames over its entire body. As a Digimon generated from the defensive firewall, which prevents illegal entry from the internet and the like. It possesses a violent temperament, like the flame that envelops its body, and tries to incinerate everything it touches. its firepower is stronger than those of the same species on Fire Island. And because taming this Digimon is extremely difficult, even if it's tamed, there's no telling when it will bare its fangs.
Okay, so I'm like scratching my...
Okay, so, Kez, I want you to switch up the music to be more like techno right now, because we're diving into a new segment called Cleric's Special Interests. Now, Cleric is obsessed with Digimon. I love Digimon. I absolutely adore Digimon. And I do want to do a Digimon-specific episode of MFA. Believe me, that will be feral. But Maramon, specifically, is a very interesting Digimon to choose. Because Maramon is one of the more base Digimon that you see. It's a champion-level Digimon. So, a champion-level Digimon, because Digimon go from different rankings, it goes, in the more base form, it goes Rookie, Champion, Ultimate to Mega. So then, Maramon is a champion-level Digimon, which means it's not too tough, but it's also a wide variety. There are many different types of Maramons. There's Blue Maramon, there's like Skull Maramon. There's a whole bunch of them. And so they're very interesting characters, and many of the Digidestined, those who fight them or partnered with Digimon, fight Maramon. Maramon is interesting. It's a very much, they're adults, because usually it's a better way to say champion is to say adult, because it goes Rookie to Adult to Ultimate to Perfect. So Maramon definitely is like an adult level Digimon, but it's very interesting. It has different firepower. It's most of the time we see Maramons, they're very aggressive. They're very much attacking our Digidestins, or they're very much being controlled or manipulated. So they're not very smart, but they're also very, once they warm up to them and once they've established a situation, usually they calm down and become fierce protectors, but other times the Digidestins just fucking kill them. Which is fair, because they just return back to data. Because no one truly dies. Well, no, there is one Digimon, Leomon always dies. But usually they return back to being data.
I'm just here like, that's so true, sweetie.
Kez has unlocked special interest fucking Cleric. I absolutely love Digimon. So to describe the picture, Joe, do you want to describe what you're looking at to our audience
so
here?
it looks like the Ben 10 character, the flame one. I don't remember what it's called.
Heat Blast.
Heat Blast, which was one of my hate special interests as well.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do a Ben 10 episode.
We can't.
I don't think we can even do a Digimon episode. So, we're looking at an evil looking guy that's made of flame and just looks like Heat Blast, but a little bit evil. Has abs.
Oh,
well, Heat Blast is like more lava, magma, whatever. This is just a pure fire, dude.
Oh, he's got abs.
My one thing with Digimon is Maramon one of the ones that you can like have.
So, okay. Here's the thing.
Oh my god.
Here's the thing. Yes and no. Because in Digimon, unlike Pokemon, in Digimon, when you have a partner Digimon, there are hundreds or like different ways it can Digivolve. So even though you have like one Rookie Digimon, it can evolve in like Digivolve into many different ways and have different evolutions. So one of those Digi-evolutions can be Maramon. So you can have Maramon as a partner. Or you can have Maramon as your base partner. There's also that possibility. But there's also Maramons that are around. Because it's not like there's not many that are very much exclusive. Like in the show sometimes, like there'll be like there's only one Guilmon and only one Terramon. But it's really not like that. In Digimon in actuality, there are hundreds of versions of the same kind of Digimon, unless they're like super ultra rare. And Maramon is a very common Digimon.
Okay.
So it can be a partner, but I think we'll go with like a base Maramon that you keep online.
Yeah. I struggle with the concept of Digimon, I feel like, just because I do love Angelmon and the Titty Angel lady.
Titty Angel.
What's her name?
It's Angelwoman.
Oh, okay. But my sort of problem is that they turn into like baby things.
So,
and then like you have a partnership with them that is based on them fighting for you. It's just like Pokemon-esque to a degree. Well, obviously they're sentient, which is different.
Yeah, so Digimon have more personality. They each have their own personality and how they do things. Some Digimon are ancient, like since before the internet, because their Digimon lore very much always up in the air of how it's been created or how long the digital verse exists. but some of them are very ancient
Right.
Digimon. And what happens really is when a Digimon digivolves, so does their body, their mind. They get a new personality and a new kind of mindset a little bit. So with partner Digimon, usually what they do is like there a moment of like strength, or when they have to do it in a battle once it's already been unlocked, the Digimon can evolve and they get a minute. Like with Agumon, he's very much like, I eat, I do all this stuff, but then when he evolves into Greymon, he's a bit more aggressive, he's more protectorish, and he's more focused on battle, but still maintaining the same kind of charm of like headstrongness. With base Digimon that aren't digidestined, they have to grow and absorb data. So it's not like they instantly digivolve and then they're like an adult now, which some of them can be if they're partnered, but we're not really talking about a partnered Digimon. We're talking about those that are based form. So base form Digimon, they absorb data and like they have to fight in order to like digivolve. And then most can stay that way. They don't unless they take sustained significant damage, most stay that way. So it's if we're dealing with a Maramon that we've encountered in the wild, most likely this is an adult Digimon. That's what champions.
Okay.
It goes rookie to kind of child. To rookie child is like the partner Digimon you're thinking of, and then when it's digivolved to its first level, it's considered adult / champion.
Okay.
So this is a consensual adult, I will say.
Okay. Cool.
Speaking of Maramon specifically, this is a being completely made of flames.
Yeah. Which is where our Logi sort of conundrum is like.
And even worse than the Logi conundrum is that it is fucking... These guys can't turn it off.
Right.
They can't.
There's like not even in the option.
Yeah. So...
There's no gods to ask.
Yeah. If he digivolved into like his super form or his mega form, which is, I think, Skull Maramon. And Skull Maramon... Let me see if I can send you a picture of Skull Maramon in our chat together. But Skull Maramon is like, he does have flame. He looks like kind of Ghost Rider ish.
Okay. Like only parts of him.
Yeah, only parts of him, but he's like wrapped up in chains, and like his head is on fire. Like he has his head, and he has like a metal mask. I put him in our chat to show a picture. So if you level him up, or if you guys grow together enough, maybe he can become Skull Maramon, and he has his like human pants. But his Maramon is very much a very hot-headed. He's the embodiment of hot-headed, even more than Logi. He's like totally. He's this just very much flame monster-esque. And depending on the version of Digimon we're going for, may not even be tangible in the real world. Like you'd have to go to the digital world to encounter Maramon. To physically be able to touch Maramon.
Which is fine with me. I am fine with that.
Yeah. Other times he can just chill on your phone.
It's like an anime husband.
Basically, yeah. And he's just digital. He can be on your phone. So like you can be like talking. You can look at your phone. And he'll be like, "Love you, babe," kind of shit.
You could talk forever.
Yeah, you can talk forever. He can be like this little digital avatar. He's like your best your husbando.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Okay, I'm warming up.
Yeah,
I'm warming up.
I'm not saying this is perfect. There are better Digimon to fuck. Like there's like Seraphimon and motherfucking like all of the ancient not the ancient Digimon, all of the slide evolution Digimon, or the elemental ones from Digimon Frontiers, or
okay, yes.
Tyrantmon, I'd fuck him. But it's a decent choice. I just don't think it's super possible.
Possibility, yeah. I mean, so I guess the thing is that Skull Maramon is what is taking my interest right now. I mean, if Maramon could stay on my phone, that'd be like a cute little thing. But like, I don't know. You would still want to meet them eventually.
Yeah, I mean, you would eventually want to meet them in person, and you can go to the digital world. There are, in other versions, like there are versions where they like people travel actively from the real world to the digital one, and sometimes the digital world does come to the real world in like certain situations. Some in better forms than others, but in that case, if like it happens. It's possible to do. It's just, if he does come to the digital world, or he does come to the physical world, he's gonna be on fucking fire. If you want Skull Maramon, the problem is you'd have to wait, and like, that's where you have to really struggle and work. Like, you'd have to wait with him, and you have to like work with him and like fight with him to really get him up there. To be Skull Maramon, where he can actually have a physical dick to fuck you.
Right.
Where he can like at least control his flames. Which, you know, all relationships built on hard work, but it's not worth that kind of level of work.
Yeah. So, I mean, do we go into possibility?
You haven't got a possibility. For possibility, I'm going to give this a 3.
Yeah.
He's a giant flame monster. There are hundreds of him, so it's possible. Maramon are very common. The problem is he's fucking on fire. And then B, you either have to be a Digidestined or be able to go into the digital world.
Yeah. I'll give him a 4.
Yeah. So now we go to attractiveness, correct?
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Oh, this is your 10 out of 10.
Listen, I'll fuck a Digimon. I'm going to put it on the record here. I'm going to put it on the record for everyone to know.
Okay.
I'll do it. And when we get to a Digimon episode, I swear to God, I'm going feral.
He's not that cute in this form. I just want Skull Maramon, I think.
Absolutely fair. It's the... Look at his abs, though. Look at his abs.
I'm looking at his abs.
He has gutters.
I know. Oh my God, Jesus. I understand. I think it's just a 7, however.
That's fine. I'll take a 7. I'll take above a 5. I'll take above a 5.
Okay, cool.
Audacity, I don't think it's that audacious.
It doesn't seem that audacious.
It doesn't.
Yeah, if there's like so many of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. You can work with it. It's just getting to the digital world. That might be the trouble, but you know, people do it all the time. It's easy to do.
Yeah.
It's not too hard. I'm gonna give it a 6.
Yeah, I'll give it a 6 because I don't really know that much about Digimon, but I believe you.
Hyper special interest. Parental approval. This is another one.
Yeah, it's for Logi and the Phoenix. You can make somewhat more of a case, but for this one, it's like how? What?
Yeah, there's no way. It's a giant digital monster.
He's a 2D boyfriend, yeah.
Yeah, even if he's not in the real world, and you just like, your parents are like, who are you dating right now? And you show your fucking phone, and it's like this 2D sprite jumping on your phone saying, hello, Miss Mama Joe. It's a pleasure to meet you. It's like, what the fuck did you program?
Mr. Mama Joe.
Mr. Mama Joe, I'm going to, your mom's going to be like, I have an arranged marriage for you now. My parents did the same.
Yeah, right.
So now, with that all out of the way, we are going to pause for math. All right, so for Maramon, the Flame Digimon, I have a overall score of just a straight 5.0. Joe, what's your score?
A 4.5. I lost it.
You're good. And so for that averages out to a total of a 4.8, which honestly, better than I thought. So, with that, we should start talking about the overall rankings for this episode. Coming in last place, numero 3, is the Norse embodiment of flames, Laogai. How do you feel about it, Joe? R.I.P.
It's okay. It's fine. He's married already.
True.
He has kids. Yeah. Baggage.
Yeah, that's a lot of baggage. You don't want to be like, sometimes you don't want to be a stepmom or stepdad or anything like that. I don't want to be a stepdad to them kids.
Yeah, right. Especially to the then embodiments of like Ash and whatever.
Oh my God, they'd bring Ash and Smoke inside the house and I'd be like, please, control your kids. Get your kids. Coming in second place, it's the digital flame Digimon himself, Maramon, with a 4.8. Which, for our first Digimon, Not disappointed because he's not the most
Not
reasonable
bad.
one to go
Not
with.
bad, yeah.
But there are some Digimon. Oh, baby. Digimon episode coming soon. Which leads to.
Okay.
What do you mean, okay? No, there is. It's going to happen. I'm pushing for it. I'm pitching it.
Okay.
Which leads to our number one pick for our number one monster, let me say, for this Flame episode, which is the cycle of rebirth monster itself, the Phoenix, with a 5.3.
Seriously?
Seriously.
I just processed this.
Yeah, they're not high. We're not dealing with any high scores this whip. I think
No, not for this one.
even so, if we even average out between the water monsters and the flame monsters, the water monsters beat it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think this episode has made me realize I'm not, like I said, I think I said it a little bit earlier in the episode, in the beginning, but I'm not that big a fan of flame monsters, and I don't think this has changed that. Honestly.
No, yeah, for sure.
I think flame monsters are very mid, and I think that's reflected in their scores here.
Fire is a very symbolic sort of, like, using fire is mostly utilized for like some like very grand sort of themes rather than like the actuality of fire.
Not very long term either.
Yeah.
I think if you're gonna go for a flame monster, it's gonna be very passionate, but not very long, and prepare to get burned.
Damn.
That's it. That's it. Ended on a bars.
That's it.
All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed episode 6 of Monster Fuckers Anonymous. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at MonsterLoverPod to keep up to date on all our info. We're going to be putting out memes, bingos, all this kind of fun stuff. So if you want to stay up to date and talk to us after episodes, give us a little bit of feedback, feel free to follow us there. Joe, any closing thoughts?
Tell us how you feel about Cleric doing some of the sexy descriptions. It's his second episode doing them.
Yeah, let me know how I sound. If I should be a little bit better, a little bit worse. Who knows? Actually, don't tell me. I'll cry.
That's it.
That's it. All right, everybody. Let's say it together.
Bye.